Hey everybody, Dr. Mike here with Complete Wellness. I have a good friend of mine, Mark Atkeson, who's going to share his story, his family's story about when they first started here, and just the amazing healing that he's experienced and the lifestyle that he's really adopted as being a patient here. He is definitely one of our best patients we've ever had. He's referred in I don't know how many people, but he's just a walking testimony for how amazing healing can be when you do the right things for it.
Originally, my youngest was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. Her nails were pitting and falling off, and we had gone to our primary care, and he had recommended corticosteroids and some other methods of treatment. My wife didn't really want to go down that road originally and wanted to explore other options. Spoke to somebody who came here, and they said, you ought to give it a try. We went through the doctor's report and the orientation, and Dr. Mike came up with a plan for each one of us. And we began using that plan and coming in. My actual recommendation was 4 times a week because apparently I was quite messed up. And so throughout that time, we were seeing positive changes, especially in my youngest with the nail psoriasis. Ever since we began coming here, changing some of our dietary habits and following the exercise and the adjustment protocol, we've never seen a flare-up of psoriatic arthritis ever since, which actually is quite amazing because what we learned was that nail psoriasis is actually a death sentence for psoriatic arthritis. And that was one of the reasons that my wife wanted to come in and find a better solution. So typically, the diagnosis of nail psoriasis means you're going to have psoriatic arthritis. At the time, my youngest was 6 years old, and that was not something we wanted for her the rest of her life. So we came in here, and ever since we started using the recommended diet and adjustment and the exercise regimen, we've never ever seen a flare-up ever since. So quite the success on that one. And it's actually been over 10 years since we came in here the first time. So we've never seen a flare-up since, and never taken any medication for prevention of the psoriatic arthritis ever again. A little background about myself. I grew up racing motorcycles and wanted to race professionally in motocross. And it's a very unforgiving sport that I found out the hard way. But throughout many years of racing, I accumulated quite a few injuries. After that, I became a firefighter. So I've been a firefighter for over 20 years now, which is not the easiest on your body either. And in addition, I began training some of our military on off-road training, still riding the dirt bikes, which again is still a very unforgiving sport and hobby. So through the years, I've accumulated quite the list of injuries, which is what really makes my testimonial more powerful, I would say. The most prominent would be a coup-contrecoup brain injury, which means you hit one side of your skull and your brain literally rattles to the point where it bruises the other side of your brain. And in paramedic school, they told us about it, and they said it's at the absolute peak of the scale when it comes to a brain injury. A lot of people don't even live from it. So it was a coup-contrecoup with a 3-centimeter bruise on the left side of my brain, and I hit the right side of my brain. The concussion they wouldn't even put on a scale because they said it's not even fair to. The radiologist told me he had no idea why I was alive, and they sent the first films over to a neurologist who said, where is his neurodeficit? And he said, no, he walked in here. And he said, no, he didn't. He said, no, seriously, he walked in here. And the guy said, well, his neck or back is broken somewhere. There's no way. Anyways, in addition, growing up, when I was younger, they didn't give scales or grades or care about concussions. So again, motocross is very unforgiving. I've had several other concussions. God's probably the only one who knows how many. Throughout the other adventures in life, 10 broken bones with a total of 18 fractures. I've had 3 orthopedic surgeries that include 2 plates and 18 screws in different iterations. The one particular was a collarbone, and I had a plate and 7 screws put in. And I was 43 years old when I did because I was working with the military classes. And the orthopedic surgeon that did it was probably in his late 50s, early 60s, and he'd been practicing orthopedics for years. And I made the appointment to come back in 5 weeks, and he was just going to do a follow-up. He didn't think I'd be ready until probably 10 or 12 weeks to come back to work. And at 5 weeks, I had full range of motion back enough to go back to work, and he very poignantly stated, I have 20-year-olds that don't heal anywhere near this rate. The reason I feel that I healed at such a rate was that I wasn't able to go to work. So I would come in and help Dr. Mike around the office doing things. So every single day, 6 days a week, I was getting adjusted. I was eating properly. I was trying to work out when I could and do things that were right. So I was able to heal at twice the rate of a 20-year-old, according to my orthopedic surgeon. 3 shoulder dislocations and 1 partial shoulder dislocation. I've come back from every one of these, and every orthopedic surgeon I've talked to about my shoulders says, I can't even believe you've had those because your shoulders have recovered so well. I know people that have never dislocated their shoulders, had 0 separation, who don't have anywhere near the function or strength that you do in your shoulders. So again, it comes back to the exercise regimen and the nutrition end of working out. On the successes, personally, outside of the fast rate of healing and the fact that I'm now 50 years old, I feel as good or better as I did when I was 30. One of the neatest things that I tell people about is my before and afters at about a 6 or 8 week mark were put up in front of me. And I'm formerly a paramedic, and I'm looking at these x-rays, and I'm asking Dr. Mike, I said, this is disc tissue, right? And he's like, yep. I said, it's thicker in this one. He said, yeah, it is. And he said, you're actually regenerating disc tissue. And he said that every medical school in the country will tell you that's a physical impossibility, that it just won't happen. But I've got x-rays that show actually I can have regenerated some disc tissue, which is amazing. I also suffered from terrible sinus problems my entire life. And throughout the process, as we were early on, one day I would get short-term relief, and of course the adjustment takes a period of time. And I would get short-term relief for the sinuses, and then one particular adjustment, I felt my sinuses just open up, and it was literally for about 2 weeks difficult to breathe through my nose because I'd never had air go across that tissue in my life. And ever since then, I've never had a problem anywhere near. I get some seasonal allergies, nothing huge. I used to take double the dose of Mucinex every fall and spring because of my sinuses to just be able to function and still be congested. And now I don't even take it. I might take 1 or 2 an entire year if it's really bad. I also had some migraines for many, many years, and those are much better under control. Very occasional now at its best and nowhere near the severity that they were. So that's the short version of some of the successes I've had and my family has had with Dr. Mike, and just wanted to share that with you guys, let you know that usually we're the one that stands in the way of our body being able to heal. So if you follow the right regimens and the nutritional advice and get adjusted, I explain to a lot of my friends that chiropractic care and nutrition, the complete wellness, is a lot like a race car. If you take a race car that functions at a high level, like the human body does, and you put really, really watered down, crappy gas in it, then you're going to get a poor performance out of that machine, and that's your nutrition side. And then likewise, if you grab a wiring harness and twist it all up and tighten it and everything, it's not going to allow the conductivity of the signals going through that wiring harness to flow appropriately. That's your spine. So if you compromise either one of those two sides, you're going to get a lackluster performance out of that car. If you can unkink that wiring harness and put the proper fuel in, the race car runs itself. So that's the analogy I've used over the years and seems to work.
It works great.